them all in exactly on 3 o'clock.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining on time. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to let a few more people join in, and then we'll jump straight into the webinar. Again, thanks for coming. Hey guys, if you're just joining, we're going to wait maybe one more minute before we get started. Just give everybody a chance to get into the call before we begin. Thank you for being here on time. Really appreciate it. Okay, guys. While we're waiting for a couple more people to join, I want to skip to this next slide. Um, and I want to let you know that questions are very welcome today. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat. I've got my colleague here, Andrew, who's going to be answering questions throughout the webinar today. But yeah, anything specific that you want to ask about a campaign, put them in the chat. Andrew will try and answer those. If he can't, we'll provide full written answers after the webinar as well. He's also going to be providing my contact details, along with a couple of other colleagues that will be on a slide later on in the webinar today. And you can always reach out to me and I'll be happy to help with anything Ad Express related. So as people are slowly joining, let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to start out with a refresher of Tripadvisor as a whole, and then we'll move on to look at ways that we can leverage Tripadvisor Ad Express to reach travelers at every stage of their journey, whether they're sort of planning their trip, just dreaming about where they're going to be going next, or whether they're in destination and they're ready to experience an attraction, a restaurant, something like that. We'll then move on to the Ad Express platform and I'll run a full walkthrough of the process of creating a campaign with a couple of example businesses, hopefully linking back as much as possible to that bit about the stages of a traveler and when we can reach them. We'll then have a look at the products and special offers we have available on Ad Express at the moment. And then finally, I'll share some of my top tricks and tips for getting the most out of the Ad Express platform. Again, feel free to use that chat feature all the way through. Andrew's here and happy to help. So let's talk about TripAdvisor. So you're all here because you know a lot about TripAdvisor. You've probably used it to plan your own holiday or just look at restaurants in your local area or get the best price for a hotel. We want to talk about why TripAdvisor is number one in travel and tourism. It's a huge global brand, and very trustworthy as well. I don't know about you, but when I go to a restaurant, I'm always using TripAdvisor to make sure that I'm not going to be going somewhere that other users have not recommended. So page views, we have over 2 billion page views. We reached a milestone last year of 1 billion, um, sorry, 1 billion total reviews and contributions. And just this year alone, we have totaled an average of 490 million visits per month from over 202 million unique users. There's also 12.46 million businesses listed on TripAdvisor, hotels, attractions, tour companies, and restaurants. So let's talk about this next slide. We're going to look at the traveler journey. And obviously, with that huge reach, we also reach a really highly contextualized premium travel audience. But I want to talk about these 5 stages and these first 3 to begin with. So, this dreaming stage, this is where travelers are thinking about a holiday. They may not have decided exactly where they're going to go, but they know that they're going to go somewhere. And you can reach travelers during this stage of dreaming by putting your content in front of them using the Ad Express platform. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. We'll talk about then the planning and booking and preparing stage. Planning is where a traveler has maybe decided on the destination, the country, the city, but they're not confirmed bookers yet. They've not decided which hotel they're staying at. They're not decided what they're going to be doing while they're on their trip. And during these planning stages, we have a huge amount of influence over the decision making of a traveler in terms of what they do, where they eat, and where they stay. If we then look at the booking and preparing phase, this is where we have a huge increase in the daily average visitors to TripAdvisor. I don't know about you, but before a trip, get really excited and start thinking about the specific days, what I'm going to do while I'm away. So reaching people during this pre-booking and booking and preparing stage is really important. But equally important is the experiencing and the sharing stages of a trip. So 57% of travelers book attractions while on vacation. So this may be a traveler is in a restaurant on a Friday night and they've got a week in a new city and they're thinking, what are we going to do on Tuesday next week? This is where you can put the attraction, the tour that you're offering, the experience you're offering in front of that traveler. And then finally, the sharing stage, we have 247 reviews left per minute on TripAdvisor. And this is where it starts linking back to that dreaming phase at the beginning. And we will then move on, guys. I hope that's all really clear, and we'll link back to this as much as we can when talking about the targeting options in the Ad Express platform. But let's take a look at Ad Express. So I don't know if you've got an account set up on Ad Express already, but this is what it'll look like or similar when you sign into the Ad Express platform. We'll jump straight into the new ad campaign here. So this is an agency account, and I'm just going to select this client that I've had set up for the webinar, AAA Insurance, and we'll talk about some ways of creating campaigns. A really important and useful document is this how to create a campaign document, just here on the screen. This will be a sort of walkthrough of the platform in a presentation format, exactly as I'm doing right now. Let's call this campaign test. And for this, we're going to pretend we're an insurance company and we want to reach users on TripAdvisor who are browsing anywhere but from a specific country, let's say Italy. So we have the options here for advertising campaign on the left and then listing booster on the right. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about listing booster in a second, but for the moment, let's take a look at the advertising campaign. For this, we have standard media, which is image or video, and the options that we have for sizes of creative formats are available here on the right-hand side for image. So these are 300 by 250 mid-page unit size. We have a banner ad here, another desktop banner ad, a skyscraper style size, the half page style, and a billboard style here. We also have this build a creative option. This is really, really useful to you as it's easy to set up. All you need is an image, and then you can build the text in the platform. But I want to talk more about these targeting options and link them to that first slide of the traveler's path to purchase. So we have all destinations. This is our most basic and cheap product. I first want to let you know that we use a CPM model. If you're not aware of that, it's a cost per 1,000 impressions. So you're charged by the 1,000 impressions that you book. This is the most basic product, run of site, where you target users based on where they are, but you don't get a say on what content they're looking at. And that's perfect for that dreaming phase of a campaign, for awareness, for reaching as many people as possible at a low cost. As we move on to country destinations, state and region and city, you not only get to define where your audience is, but you also get to define what content they're browsing on TripAdvisor, whether that's a country, a state, or a city. For this insurance campaign, we want to keep it as broad as possible. So let's take a look here and we'll have a look at what we can do and how the booking flow looks. So first of all, we have visitor location. You'll always get to define the visitor location on a campaign. For this, for the purposes of this, we are an Italian insurance company, and we want to reach travelers who are going to be traveling abroad or anywhere, and they need travel insurance. So for this, we're just targeting Italian users, and then we have audience targeting to look at. So this is based on TripAdvisor's first party data that we hold on all of our users. And we have things like attraction related audiences. So people who are looking at the things to do pages. We have hotel related people who are browsing hotels and clicking through to the view deals button on hotels. And then we also have things like restaurant shoppers. I'm not going to go through every single audience now, but there's a huge number of them. For example, we have all of these car rental, flight shoppers, train travelers, things like that. So I think it's a great opportunity to dive in yourself and take a look at all of these audience and find the exact audience that suits you best. Now, destination retargeting, let's take a look at this. This is an option that we have to broaden the audience that you're reaching by targeting users who are looking at a destination or have browsed a destination in the past. So, in fact, I'm going to skip over this for the moment. I'll come back to that. If you remind me in the chat if I forget, but I'll skip over to that because it doesn't really make sense for this insurance campaign that we're creating. If we look here as well at frequency capping, so we have the ability to limit the amount of times a user will see a campaign or an ad in a day. This is set as default to 5 impressions per user per day, but you have the option to change that and reduce it to 4 or increase it to 10, depending on your needs and requirements. We generally recommend keeping it on 5 per day, as this is a pretty good balance between the two. Then we have this eco impact section. This is a really great thing to touch on because it's unique to TripAdvisor Ad Express. We are working to plant trees, protect land for conservation, or remove plastic from bodies of water. And this is scaled to budget for every single campaign that we run. Let's just keep that for remove plastic for this instance, and let's talk about the budget. So budget is very flexible. We have a minimum spend of 500 euros, pounds, or dollars, or the equivalent in whichever currency you use. Though the average spend on a campaign is around 1,500 euros, and the average length of a campaign of that budget is 1 month. So we'll use that as our sort of rule of thumb for the moment, and we'll take a look at we'll take a look at availability check in just a second. You'll see that, yeah, we've set that for a month. We also have this creative best practices. guide that I'll just talk about very, very briefly, where it just shows you the really important things about a creative. And as you know, a creative, the aspect that a traveler or user is going to see is your campaign is only going to be as good as the image that you're selling. So this has got some really good hints and tips. If you're on the platform, do take a look and skip through this before launching your campaign. I'm just going to skip over the creative uploading, but this is where you'll put in your standard creatives and then the builder creative. This is where you'll build that native that I highlighted quite briefly. So looking here, we can take an availability check, and this will give us an idea of how many users fall into the audience that we've created and what percentage of those users we're reaching. So for this month period, we have a total available number of impressions for users in Italy of 47 million, and we're reaching a fraction of those, just 1%. Our campaign, the platform has a sort of arbitrary recommendation of 15% total visibility. Now, don't be scared by this. If you get a result like this, don't think, oh, I need to change my budget, increase it to 76,000 euros. Get in touch with your account manager, get in touch with me, and I'll talk about why we recommend this. But you can just reject the suggestions here and move on. And I think this would be a pretty good campaign anyway. So that is the first run through. A couple more things to touch on the CPM and how we've come to that. So you'll notice here that the CPM visitor location, we're being charged an additional €2.97 for reaching the Italian market, which is a tier 3 country. And we're also being charged €1.70 for adding the audience targeting. So that brings us to a total of 10.67. Just want to go back and touch on that visitor location section and explain some of that. So if we look here, the visitor locations you select will change the CPM. And in here, we have a breakdown of which countries fall into which tiers, and you can view this here. So you'll be charged a higher price for reaching tier 1 countries, and then as you move down the scale, 2, 3, and 4, you start being charged slightly less. Perfect. So that is our most basic campaign type setup, all destinations. I now want to go back all the way to the beginning and we'll talk about the Listing Booster. Listing Booster is a really, really neat product which uses the listing of a Tripadvisor business and then creates the aspect that the user will see as a immediate ad, basically automatically generates it for you. So it saves a lot of the work and the performance on it is really, really good. So for this, we have two options. We have the TripAdvisor listing where you can keep users internal within TripAdvisor. So when they click on the ad, they'll land on the TripAdvisor listing itself. And then we have this external website option. This is slightly different where you can drive users using the TripAdvisor listing to an outbound website. So this can be your own booking page or anywhere on the internet you choose. So again, for this example, we're going to say we're a walking tour in Barcelona, and we're going to use the city destination campaign type. The difference here with country, state and region and city, it gets more expensive, the CPM, based on how niche you want to go and how targeted you set your campaign up. So for a city destination campaign, it's going to charge you slightly more, but you're going to be reaching solely those users who are in Barcelona and looking at Barcelona. So this is more for targeting that second end of the path to purchase, where you're getting users who are experiencing, and they're more likely to be thinking about what they're doing next week, not 2 or 3 months in advance. So city destinations, choose your listing. So you'll get this option to add new listing, and in here you'll see listing URL. All you need to do is find your listing on TripAdvisor. Here I've picked a Sagrada Familia guided tour with a skip the line ticket. So we take that listing, we input it into Ad Express, And what you'll see here is a listing booster ad. This is really neat. It's got the TripAdvisor star rating for the business, and it's taken the text and image from the listing and put it directly into the Ad Express ad format. This will also change language as well, depending on the user who's viewing it, depending on which domain they're browsing from. Custom destination URL, I'm going to put the same link in, but in here you can put whichever link you want. So you can have users click on this link and it will take them to any website you want on the internet. Again, let's put test. We also have options for impression tracking and pixel tracking. I'm not going to go into those now. Any questions you have about tracking or similar, let me know in an email and we'll address those independently. So let's go through the setup, which will be very similar here. So the visitor location, we want to reach users who are already in the city of Barcelona. So we'll use here Barcelona, and we'll also reach users who are in Catalonia. So we don't have to target um, just countries in this section. You can target states and regions as well. So that's all a complete option for you. And yeah, moving down. So I like to look at this as a visitor location is always where the user is based or where they are accessing the content from, whereas city destination or country destination is what content they're browsing on TripAdvisor. So in here, we can add Spain and we can add Barcelona. So this is a campaign that we're setting up now that is only going to be reaching users in Barcelona or Catalonia who are looking at things to do or who are looking at Barcelona, and we're going to add again tour attractions and attraction shoppers. So it's going to be reaching solely people who are interested in this specific activity related to the business. And there are loads of these options, so you can find the perfect one for your business. We're also going to add destination retargeting. So I skipped over this last time, but we'll look at it now. You can target users who are not currently looking at Barcelona, but have in the previous 30 days been browsing Barcelona as a destination. This is generally just a good option if you're struggling to find the available inventory for the campaign you're setting up. You'll notice, again, we'll skip over eco impact and frequency cap as we've done that already. But you'll notice here that the CPM is much higher because we're going way more granular and more targeted with that city destination targeting. And we'll take a look at another month-long campaign with this average budget that we have on the platform. And we'll do an availability check again. Now, this should give us a much more limited audience than what we saw for that Italy campaign. So we're only going to be reaching 86,000 users of a total available amount of 190,000. So yeah, totally different result. But yeah, that's about it for my walkthrough. I hope any questions have been answered in the chat. I'll take a look at those as much as possible at the end of the call today. But let's jump back to this nice presentation and we'll jump into slideshow. So let's talk about my tips and tricks. So Listing Booster is a really neat tool. It's really easy to use and set up. And we also have a 50% discount on the base CPM rates for keeping users internal within TripAdvisor. The performance is great and it's a no-brainer if you've got a listing. Second part that I didn't talk about, but it's reserving your inventory in advance. You saw that last campaign that I set up for that Barcelona tour. You saw that we had only available about double the amount of impressions that we were booking. If you want to make sure that you don't miss out, especially entering this really busy period going into August, you need to make sure that you book those impressions far in advance to avoid being beaten to those same users that you want to target by any competitors. Optimizing campaigns in real time. So a lot of the things that I spoke about in those walkthroughs, whether it's the visitor location targeting, the destination targeting, or the creative. We have options, and it is possible to make any changes to those things while the campaign's live. We also will provide you with insights as to how a campaign's performing based on specific locations, specific audiences that you've added. So you have a lot of flexibility. So adapt the targeting. Don't think it's inflexible. So you have total control over your campaign once it's live. Learn from the platform suggestions and FAQs. I know I said that maybe you should avoid it if it's telling you a scary budget increase of 70,000, but take your time, get to know the platform. It does have some of these prompts, but the best thing to do is take your time, learn from the suggestions. If you've got any questions, get in touch with myself or whoever your account manager might be. But yeah, that's number 4. And then number 5 is about frequency capping. We have that frequency cap set to 5 impressions per day. It's a great way to be memorable, but not waste the impressions that you've got and your booking to make the most impact from your campaign. And finally, this sort of bonus tip is leverage your account manager. So there are account managers across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, across the Americas, and across Asia and the Pacific as well. We're here to help. I'll put some contact information for myself and my colleagues on one of the next slides. Reach out to us with any questions you've got. There's no stupid question, and we'll be able to make sure that you're getting the most out of the Ad Express platform. Here are some of those contacts, key contacts. We've got my colleague Angelica, we've got my colleague Prab, and then we've got myself. I'm just going to jump back into the platform because I think I've missed the offers that I was going to talk about. We'll go back, it's no problem. And once you're in Ad Express, you can come to this offers page along the top, and these are constantly changing. We have a couple of different types of offers. So we have geographic offers. So at the moment, we're offering half price for targeting users in these countries, India, Brazil, Italy, and Japan. So we don't really generally offer such high discounts. So it's really, really great opportunity to jump on these. And then we have these targeted packages as well. We've just added these city packages, which allow you to target users who are looking at specific cities. We've got the cities listed here. We also have ways of targeting users who are looking at attractions, restaurants, and hotels. So take a look at these. They're constantly changing. We also have things like latest offers for specific events across the world. So it's always good. First thing you do when you come into AliExpress, check up on what's available through the offers and go from there. Jump back to the presentation. I think that's about it. I think Andrew, let's have a look at some of these questions. I think Andrew's been answering most of them for now. My contact is the one for Africa, Bonolo, so get in touch with me. My email is available here. But yeah, I'm not able to read the chat very easily, so I'm gonna skip over answering any questions now, but anything that hasn't been answered, we'll get back to you as soon as possible with a follow-up. But yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Have a lovely day, and we'll hopefully catch you next time. I'm looking forward to hearing from lots of you with lots of questions about AliExpress. Thanks a lot.